Well, good morning. I call this regular meeting of the Kentucky Board of Education to order. We welcome all of our members, those in the audience, and to all viewing this meeting remotely. Just as a reminder, please silence or turn off other electronic devices that may cause disruption to your sound feed. To members attending virtually, please ensure your video is streaming and that you can be seen throughout the duration of the meeting. I guess that means me. Now I will call on Dr. Jones to please call the roll.
Holly Bloodworth.
Holly Bloodworth here.
Harold McKinney.
Harold McKinney here.
Justin Pate.
Here.
Julie Pyle.
Julie Pyle, present.
Randy Poe.
Here.
Sharon Robinson.
Sharon Robinson, present.
Lee Todd.
Lee Todd here.
Steve Trimble.
Steve Trimble here.
Lou Young.
Here.
Harper Blake.
Harper Blake, here.
Alfonso de Torres Nunez.
Alfonso de Torres Nunez here.
Secretary Jamie Link.
Jamie Link is here.
President Aaron Thompson. Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you so much. And given the circumstances, I have asked Dr. Young to assume the gavel for the duration of this meeting. So Dr. Young, would you please take up the agenda and start with the good news?
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Robinson. We have a little bit of extended time on our agenda today for good news because we've heard from several of you about all the things going on, and board member sharing afterwards. We're going to start with our good news items, and I get to go first. This item is that KDE has unveiled a new video series highlighting local assessment and accountability work, and we got to see snippets of that yesterday. This series release highlights the revolutionary things happening all across Kentucky, in Kentucky school districts and classrooms around local assessments and accountability. We celebrated yesterday the passage of House Bill 257. It's on the governor's desk now. And in that work, we really featured local accountability as a hallmark of the way that our state will move forward around a new assessment and accountability environment. The videos document the work done by KDE in support of these school districts, the groundbreaking efforts and visionary work of the Kentucky United We Learn Council, as well as districts across the Commonwealth who are exploring new ways of incorporating vibrant learning into the classroom while emphasizing deep collaboration with the community and innovation on how we approach assessments and accountability. The videos are available on the KDE social media channels and also can be watched on KDE's YouTube page. So I'm pretty certain Harper's going to go back this afternoon and watch all of those because it's spring break. So congratulations. The quality of the video yesterday really struck me as impressive. It was beamed to the right audience. Superintendent Ballinger, of course, was really confident. The content was solid. We saw Shelby County and Rockcastle County in good detail, and I just think they're going to be very practical and usable for school. And Kenton County's next. Nice. All right, excellent. Love highlighting that good work. And then the next good news today comes from Julie Pyle.
So we have two 2026 KE SSP winners recognized in a surprise ceremonies in Taylor and Spencer counties. Two Kentucky classified employees were recognized with the Kentucky Education Support Staff Professional Award on February 27th in a surprise ceremony. I love surprise ceremonies. The recipients were Vanessa Lyons, a reading intervention educator and program facilitator for Taylor County Intermediate School, who also was named as one of the 5 national finalists for the Recognizing Inspiring School Employees Award, and Kayla Marshall, an instructional assistant and girls basketball coach for Spencer County Public Schools. The Kentucky Education Support Staff Professional Award was created in 2020 by Governor Andy Beshear and Lieutenant Governor Coleman to recognize more than 46,000 classified school employees in Kentucky. Classified school employees serve in vital and often overlooked roles, from driving students to school, to preparing their meals, to working with partner agencies to ensure students' vital needs are met. So congratulations to these two.
Excellent, congratulations. Our next item is from Mr. Trimble.
Okay, Kentucky welcomes 83 new National Board certified teachers. Kentucky celebrated 83 teachers newly certified by the National Board of Professional Teaching Standards during a ceremony at Kentucky State University on February the 23rd. This year, 104 educators also opted to renew their certification. National Board Certified Teacher designation is the highest certification that pre-K-12 educators may obtain. Now, with 4,584 National Board Certified Teachers, Kentucky is ninth in the nation for total certified teachers and 12th in the nation for newly certified teachers this year. This certification is designed to develop and retain accomplished teachers, ultimately improving student learning outcomes. To achieve this certification, educators go through a rigorous, performance-based assessment process that evaluates teaching expertise. During the ceremony, the Kentucky National Board Certified Teachers Network presented two National Board Certified teachers, Caitlin McClure and Brian McDowell, with Network Champion Awards. So congratulations to all our new National Board Certified teachers and also those that renewed their certificate. Kentucky being ninth in the nation for total certified teachers, something that we can all be proud of.
Yep.
Congratulations to them.
Excellent, yes, oh, really good news, thank you. And then Holly, for our next item.
Yes, we'd like to congratulate Hawaii Couch, who teaches ninth grade algebra at Newcomer Academy of Jefferson County Public Schools. She knew education was her calling after being inspired by her mother, whom she describes as a very successful leader and teacher. Growing up, she witnessed her mother's commitment to her teachers, caring for them as if they were her own, which she said instilled a sense of service and desire to make a positive impact on her students' lives. Couch has been awarded the November 2025 Honored National Teaching Award by Honored, a nonprofit organization that recognizes teachers across the country. Congratulations.
Yay. Nice. All right, and then wrapping up our good news today is Mr. McKinney.
Always last. Addison Baker, a senior at Frankfort High School and Frankfort Independent School Districts, uses her Spanish expertise to connect with patients when she interns at a hospital. Baker wants to be a labor and delivery nurse after she graduates, and as a part of her hospital internship, she cleans beds, watches deliveries and C-sections, and does admission work. Sounds pretty good and better than this, doesn't it, Harper? She studied Spanish for 13 years. She said knowing Spanish is beneficial for working in a hospital because not every patient speaks English. While the hospital has translators or staff, sometimes she gets brought into a room to help. This past fall, Baker was honored by the Kentucky World Language Association with the prestigious Amici Lingarum K-12 Student Award for her exceptional achievement in language studies. The annual statewide award recognizes outstanding K-12 students who excel in their language endeavors and demonstrate a passion for cultural exchange. Baker will be attending Midway University this fall and plans to study nursing. Congratulations, Addison Baker.
Yes, that Spanish will come in handy in the labor and delivery room for sure. Excellent. Congratulations to all of our honorees today who have been recognized. Thank you so much for sharing all of that good news, Commissioner Fletcher. We've also added a little bit of additional time today, as I mentioned, on board member sharing because we've had a lot of activity going on in the last couple of months. Per board policy, the agenda for each regular meeting shall include an item under which board members may raise issues not included on the agenda for the purposes of clarification, referral to a committee, or scheduling for future board review and/or action if such is the consensus of the board. We also devote time during board member sharing to talk about the activities that we've engaged in across the Commonwealth. So I have just designated a few of these I'll call on, and then I'll open it up for any open sharing that may happen. But Harper, I'd like to invite you first, an item related to civics education.
So Ms. Robinson asked me to share on something that she thought I would be passionate about, and immediately my mind went to social studies and specifically government and civics understanding for students. Now, the way I see it, a student that wants to be an English teacher doesn't necessarily have to excel in math, and a student that wants to be a carpenter doesn't have to get a 36 on the English ACT. It's not realistic for us to set those standards that high. However, every student will be met with the responsibility of being an educated and active voter. So right now, you only need half a civics credit to graduate high school, and actually you can just skip by that by taking a 100-question test and passing it with 70% accuracy. I just don't think that that's enough. I've seen it myself. At my school, I could probably ask everybody who the vice president was, and I don't know, maybe 50% of them get it right. And I can assure you, none of them know who the Speaker of the House is. And if you don't believe me,
Ask them.
you can ask them. If you don't believe me, I found some statistics from the Pew Research Center. Only about a third of people aged 18 to 29 voted in the general presidential election in 2024. And of those people that did vote, the approval ratings right now for the current federal executive department are as low as 25 in some polls. Now, this isn't me saying this to push any of my personal opinions. I'm saying this out of concern for the younger generation's ability to, A, get in the polls and vote in the first place, but B, be able to convey their own ideas and beliefs whenever they do vote. I mean, 25% approval rating, somebody's not getting what they voted for. I think that it's our job as the Board of Education to implement policies that will ensure that we do create active and informed voters in the future. I think that's what our democratic system depends upon. So as I leave this board in June, my last meeting's in June, but as you guys remain on the board, I'd like for you to keep that in mind and push for stronger standards in social studies and specifically civics.
Thank you so much, Harper. Very well said and very thoughtful. As a reminder, in our Portrait of a Learner, at the bottom of the key, we have, again, maybe that's top of the key, basketball again. At the bottom of our circle, we have the Empowered Learner, where we talk about the academic content standards, but right at the very top, in the center of our circle, is Engaged Citizen. And so I think as we move forward, thinking about how to operationalize around Portraits of a Learner, and to Harper's point, we can all choose lots and lots of different content to pursue and career fields to pursue, but we will all be citizens, and we hold a weighty responsibility in a democracy to mete out our citizenship and our engagement very much like you described. So I think that's a beautiful platform for you, and I'd love to hear more about that in June when we give you big hugs and thank you for your service. So I think building on that platform is a responsibility of all of us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Dr. Pate, we wanted to just get a quick update on high school transformation. Randy watched our meeting yesterday. He and 4 other faithful friends on YouTube. So
that was a 50% increase over meeting 2.
That was a big increase,
That was
that's
great.
right.
Well, I think, as the work is coming to conclusion, there's only, we've had 3 of 4 team meetings now. Folks coming into some clarity on, what those best practices we want to share amongst districts in creating a relevant and engaging high school experience for all Kentucky students. I think feedback like, what we just heard with the social, civic, engagement, all these pieces are starting to come together. So I'm going to defer to Lou and Robbie to give a little more context here. I had to step out halfway through the meeting, but really what we're trying to do is get to that point to where we're going to have some recommendations on how to remove barriers that exist for districts from creating an more innovative and engaging environment. Want to share that best practice among districts that may be able to spread some of these pockets. I think that was one of the things really was well highlighted yesterday.
Agreed.
We've got pockets of innovation and engagement happening all across the Commonwealth. Now, how do we take that to scale? So I think sharing that best practice among large districts sharing with large districts, rural districts sharing with rural districts, is going to be a way to kind of get this kick started. But sharing best practice, removing barriers, and ultimately looking at what policy recommendations, should we look at to try to do some of this stuff. Lou and I also, and Lou, I don't know if y'all talked about this toward the end of the meeting, but we sat in on a meeting. There may be a chance for a second round
Right.
of the
I
high
think
school
they're looking
network.
at Kentucky, yeah.
They've certainly been impressed with the way we have approached this work. We actually had a chance to give them feedback on how to shape that second round. So I think that the meeting that we attended was largely to try to help them scope their ask for funding for round 2.
And how they could actually help us
Right.
move the work
Right.
forward, yeah.
And I think Lou and I, kind of gave them advice. Well, we're going to come up with some potential recommendations. We need to work on implementation. And it may be a completely different group. It may not be the same group. In fact, likely won't be the same group of people around that table as we start, looking at how we actually accomplish some of these 3 things that we're looking at doing. But it is an opportunity for us to continue this work. And I think that was the thing that I took away from that meeting, is this is a really good chance for us in Kentucky in particular to continue this work. So, but as it related to the meeting that occurred yesterday morning, I'll defer to Robbie and Lou.
I'll start with, we have, I'll say loosely utilized the Kentucky Innovation Guide as kind of some discussion points to be maybe a springboard for a lot of our discussions. And yesterday, I spent some time going over local accountability, which was an appropriate, well-timed, a timely point there. We started with mentioning exactly what was in the Innovation Guide, what's there. We actually highlighted Fleming County for their local accountability. That's part of that Innovation Guide. And then we went on to talk about House Bill 257 and how it actually defines vibrant learning and has local accountability as part of that. Actually, local indicators of quality is the terminology that's in the bill. The next thing that we're trying to advertise more and more is I'd like to thank our Office of Continuous Improvement Support, this particularly Division of Innovation. They've worked with various partners to put together a guide, I think it's called Guidebook and Toolkit for Local Accountability, to help districts develop their local accountability models. And it actually goes through 6 action steps, everything from defining student success to defining district success and how to communicate that. So there's 6 different action steps that's a part of that, and we talked about that yesterday. And I thought that was a great discussion as we went through. We also closed, as Dr. Young pointed out earlier, we closed with highlighting a couple of districts that we've made videos on, and we're trying to get this information out more and more so people can say, if we're looking for a network to join, if we're looking for a group of people that we can say we can partner with, these are districts that have gone through the process. One of the things that Dr. Ballinger pointed out so eloquently, I thought, yes, in the video, was that encouraging people to get into this work and the transformation that's going on in her district because of this work. But she also pointed out a lot of things as it relates to it's going to be messy. Don't expect a beautiful product in year 1, but expect a lot of progress. And again, the resounding message that we hear in our videos is, 1, this builds trust in our public. And again, I'm not saying that every district or we've lost trust, but we have to tell our own story. So we took some time yesterday in those videos to say this is how we can tell our story. We can say this is what exactly our community expects of us. And the second part that was always evident was it is so important to work with your community members to see what they expect, give them the data they're asking for, which is always student achievement as a crux of what's going on. But also, too, it could be physical management. It can be student well-being. It can be a lot of other pillars, but that's deemed by the local community. So again, that was another area that we talked on. We also highlighted Shelby County. Shelby County actually does a dashboard where and in the words of the gentleman that spoke in the video, instead of letting the data drive the narrative, they're letting the narrative drive the data. So tell their story and then give the data that either supports where they are or shows the area of where they need to grow. So it's not just trying to say, hey, we're perfect. It's saying these are the areas that we know that where we are now, this is what our community expects, and this is how we need to get there, and working together for that. So again, it was that section of the meeting was great, and we finished up with an activity that I think Lou will talk a little bit about.
Yeah, we finished with an activity to synthesize feedback that we received from Kentucky United We Learn Council, as well as feedback from our own internal group at meeting number 2 at Elkhorn Crossing School. And so in that process, as we had hoped, some themes are starting to emerge. So in line with this conversation around local accountability, community-based accountability, is emerging this idea that we need to define high school success with multiple measures. So in Marion County High School, what does student engagement in extracurricular and co-curricular activities look like? Test scores, of course, will still be reported, still an important part of that. What about how students perform against their Marion County Portrait of a Learner, Portrait of a Graduate? So beginning to think about multiple measures to determine and illustrate high school success is an emerging theme. I think it's really important to throw trust in the conversation. That came up in all of the settings about how important it is to regain community trust in our high schools. Alma mater really runs deep in communities. Relevant and authentic, vibrant learning experiences and how we can ensure that our policy and regulations move schools, incentivize schools to move in that direction. Julie, the deep engagement of community and families came out as a nexus to that building trust in the conversation. And then there was also a really good solid thread yesterday around the fiscal and operational side of things. How do we fund? How do we think about funding in new ways when it comes to vibrant learning experiences for every learner, for deeper personalization? So I think it's starting to come together really nicely. Dr. Pate talks about how we can pull threads in this to kind of send a clear picture about what we want for the future of high schools. And so we hope to get there at our meeting, our next meeting, which will be June 3rd. So be sure you tune in. Got it on the calendar. So good meeting all around. Dr. Payton, we sure appreciate you too, your commitment to this work. So thank you. Alfonso, I think you had a few items for us today, including you and I were able to pass each other in the hallway at the Ed Rising State Conference in Louisville.
There you go.
You should be good.
Where would you like to start?
You get to pick.
Okay. Well, so I will start with the rising, if that's okay.
Please.
So Ed Rising was amazing to see. There were so many students that
More than 800.
There were so many students that they were so eager to show what they did, what they created, how they are on this path to becoming teachers, you know, and there were spaces for really genuine conversations, really good conversations. From the side that I had the opportunity to help with, which is judging the competitive events that were provided for students to show their Spanish skills, like creating children's literature for the K-3 levels or children's literature for pre-K levels. Or I even had the opportunity to hear a student from Mid-County creating a lesson plan to deliver it in Spanish to a group of elementary kids. And the conversations that we were able to have, they were really powerful because on one hand, and I shared this with some of our folks here in KBE from the Office of Educators, the opportunity or to provide many of these students the opportunity to do these things in languages other than English, it is not only very valuable and relevant to many of our ELL students and native heritage speakers, but it also responds to realities within our classroom, to interests driven by students that they want to learn languages, right? At the same time, I was having a discussion yesterday, once again, with somebody from the Division of Educator Recruitment and Development, with Justin Edwards, as to wouldn't it be amazing that now that we have these events provided in languages other than English, which is Spanish right now, wouldn't it be amazing to open this up to other type of languages, not just oral languages like maybe Spanish or Chinese or French or German, but also visual languages like American Sign Language. The same events that I got the opportunity to judge during Ed Rising, I think it would be an amazing recruitment tool for our Kentucky state schools, for our Kentucky School for the Deaf and Kentucky School for the Blind. Not only because they could tap into a lot of the students who are already showing that interest in the language, but also they are showing interest in the language and becoming teachers. And from what I have understood over the years and from what I remember from my notes in our last meeting with Kentucky School for the Deaf was precisely, we need teachers. And at the same time that you open this for American Sign Language, I'm thinking also about our Kentucky School for the Blind. The same way that I have the opportunity to judge literature created by students directed to K to third students and pre-K in Spanish. Why couldn't we create things like this in Braille, for example? So I see a lot of opportunities up there in the future. As I said before, right, Justin Edwards is already tired of me speaking to him and giving him ideas, and also all his other colleagues. But it was an amazing event. The kids, they showed a lot of enthusiasm, a lot of excitement. Here and there were a few of them that were really nervous, and we had, as an adults, we have to it's okay, it will be okay. But it was fantastic.
It really was. And to echo Alfonso's comments about the Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness and the whole Ed Rising team, Bree Massey is the state coordinator for Ed Rising, and their team, Dr. Brewer and Dr. Stewart and Ellie Gilbert, and they were all out in full force. They were exhausted. I think they had tens of thousands of steps by the time they got up and down the concourse at the Louisville Expo Center. But to see 875, I just fact-checked myself on that. You got a PR notice on the event in late March. And so to see that many kids and all those nervous jitters and all the selfies and all the excitement, and lunch was a feat of its own, feeding that many kids on site. But it was well orchestrated, really, really good day. And I think it portends well to Alfonso's point. School districts who aren't yet on the Ed Rising bandwagon really need to jump on board to think about grow your own in a very intentional way through Ed Rising.
And I have to add that I like very much the way that this event was organized for students to connect with each other and do networking.
Right.
As I shared with some of you, one of the students that I got to judge, I already having a conversation with her about how I can be of help to her to become a future world languages teacher, right? Already talking to her coach, and the reflection that I shared with you all as a result of going to this event was this is why we do these kind of things. This is our mission. This is our vision as a board, right? This is how we are making grow our own teachers, at least from the state level, right? Access and opportunities, including in the students' native languages, creating safe spaces for them to explore, to try, to make errors, to try again, to grow, to connect. Even one single presentation may not look great at that moment for so many reasons, but you can basically see and witness the potential in it. And that's something that we should continue nurturing. I think that we should continue expanding it. And as Kentucky has done in so many previous years, becoming one of the leads in the nation in education and innovation, why not continue in that path, expanding these opportunities through Ed Rising?
Excellent. And I know you had a few more items, if you want to hit the highlights on those.
So the biggest one that I will mention is that on February 28th, I was invited to attend the 6th Justice Fest in Louisville, Kentucky, which is a Kentucky Derby Festival Foundation event. And it's an event that showcases projects and collaborative work done by students from elementary to high school, along with their teachers and coaches, from neighborhood fruit orchards to bilingual podcasts, and a school-based resource hub supporting families facing emergencies. Their ideas were just simply not innovative. They were just a reminder of the impact that young leaders can have in their communities, especially when given the opportunity to talk about that, especially when we awaken their voices, and especially when we give them the opportunity to work on this and lead, right? And the other update I wanted to share was that on March the 28th, I was able to attend the Student Expo organized by the Kentucky World Language Association that took place in Louisville, Kentucky. This event provided Kentucky students an opportunity to show what they can do with their knowledge of world languages and cultures. It included both language and cultural competitions, as well as a chance for juniors and seniors to take an assessment called APPLE, which is Actual Assessment of Performance Towards Proficiency in Languages, with the goal of achieving the Kentucky Seal of Biliteracy. The cool thing about this year is that thanks to the leadership of this organization, all competitive events have been aligned to Kentucky's Portrait of a Learner. And in addition to this, we took a page from STLP, and all the creative digital arts have been submitted by students using the rubrics from STLP. So the same way that they send their creative digital arts for this event, they can also use them for STLP. We got approximately 200 students participating from across the state on a Saturday, mind you, and it was just amazing to see. The parents were present, the teachers were present. It was something really, really, really amazing to see.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for being out and about, especially at these student events. It sounds great. And so many connections to Portrait of a Learner. Before I turn it over to Dr. Robinson for her sharing this morning, do we have other board members who would like to share? Ms. Bloodworth.
I would just like to say again, a congratulations to the new NBCTs.
Yes.
That is just a huge
83,
accomplishment. And I also want to thank the department for the support for the ceremony. I mean, it's really nice for them to have that ceremony and be celebrated in that way. And Allie Green, her work on that, working with the network. So just thank you to KDE and congratulations. That's,
Thank you, Holly.
you know, for a teacher to make that bold kind of move
Yeah.
to pursue that is huge.
I agree.
I have to say, a former student of mine was being recertified as a National Board Certified Teacher that day. So it was a proud moment for a former teacher. So.
Yes, well, thank you for always supporting that.
And Dr. Poe.
Yeah, I'd like to just report on a few great things. Ms. Powell was in with the World's Maker Fair in Northern Kentucky. Once again, a display of students across the region showing their entrepreneurship skills and things that they make in maker spaces across Northern Kentucky and selling those particular where thousands of people came to the event, family event, and kids got to fly drones and all the other kinds of things.
It was cool.
The robotics kids and so forth. So it's just a great day. You know, and I think you're about 11 or 12 years into that now.
I think it's 7 or 8
7
into
or
it,
8.
yeah.
So, but it's amazing how many kids and families come out to that event each year. But it's a growing thing, and the importance of that, it goes back to what you're doing in the high school transformation work, is the vibrant learning. High school kids across the region showing what they're doing in the classroom. That's what's so important about it. And it's amazing how many people come out to see it and buy their wares and so forth. And when you think that it doesn't make a difference, I was walking in the neighborhood the other night and a person was showing me this house. It's a $3 million house, and it's owned by a 19-year-old kid who went to Ignite, who created a patent in software and sold it. And he's got a beautiful pool. He's got a Mercedes out in front and everything else.
That's why we do what we do, Randy Poe.
I mean, and it's a true story. It's amazing. A 19-year-old kid, it goes to what Lee said, you know, the creative, be an entrepreneur, create a patent and sell it. And, you know, just 2 years ago, he was one of those kids at the makerspace showing that particular ware. So it's amazing. the work that can be done. The other thing is I visited Dayton High School, met with Superintendent Wolf, and that was a great experience seeing there. If you think about yesterday's presentation with Dr. Foster here about several years ago, they were a CSI district, and they were in the bottom 5% as a district, and now they're up in the top 70 percentile of high performers now. So it's amazing to see the transformation of what they did as a district, not only in the learning processes, but the facility and design and so forth, and that community coming together. That was just great to see. Highlands, visited Highlands with Dr. Robinson, and again, the career pathway work that's relating back to high school transformation. Also wanted to bring up that Beechwood Edge and Ignite program. They're being visited this month by an AASA Lighthouse School District, which is a lighthouse district to go visit itself to see things that's occurring. But they're coming to look at how the career pathways are done here and the vibrant learning that's taking place there. And it's really amazing when you think of that. But I also want to say that we're also in Northern Kentucky going to be celebrating our awards function again of our Golden Apple Awards. Dr. Fletcher was the keynote speaker last year, and Lieutenant Governor is the keynote speaker this year. And we're going to be celebrating outstanding teachers, students, giving out scholarships and so forth, and all those Golden Apple Award winners. It's a sellout crowd. We have over 580 already booked. We had to cut off the thing. So it's great. It's a great display of what we're doing, of all the positive things that we're doing in public education. So just wanted to share that with you.
Thanks so much, Dr. Poe. I have two quick items. One, many thanks to Julie Pyle for inviting me back to Leadership Northern Kentucky last month, where I was able to share about Kentucky United We Learn, in particular the Kentucky Portrait of a Learner. Under Julie's leadership, that group has really delved deeply into Portraits of a Learner across the Northern Kentucky region, and I'm starting to see significant momentum and progress around that work in school districts all across the region. So it was a delight to be with those folks. And once in a while, you get a little gem in your inbox. And so I had this question from, could you come see our project, from Charlie Boyd, Jabez Caraballo, Piper Perry, and Levi Steely, who are 4 juniors at Paul Lawrence Dunbar High School, which is in my backyard. And they said, hey, we did this project called Food Insecurity in Kentucky Youth. How can we help? So good citizenship and service in action. Would you come see our project? And I was like, heck yeah, I'll come see your project. So Principal Scotty Lowscheider arranged for me to get to meet the students, and they made their presentation to me. I mentioned to the commissioner yesterday, kind of previewed this item. It's a perfect all-in for ag effort as they're looking at farm to school and how to support work that's already underway in Fayette County, but with a real heart for Appalachia. How could we move this forward in communities that don't have access to the same support so we might have in our more urban areas? So it was a delight to meet those kiddos, and just one of those little, it worked. So I was glad to see it. Dr. Todd.
I was going to mention something. I saw Dr. Sanjay Gupta on CNN today talking about some chips that are on Artemis 2. Mm-hmm. 40 years ago, Chris Kimmel and I started the Kentucky Science and Technology Council, and as we worked through, we realized kids really love science and space in particular. Yes. Mm-hmm. We actually spun out a company called Space Tango a few years ago, and today on Artemis 2, they have an experiment where they've taken the bone marrow from the different astronauts that are there. They put that into some slides that they can monitor the genetic changes that take place there. Those samples will come back to Earth, and they'll see what type of exposures had an impact on those particular tissues. But further than that, when we land on Mars, there'll be a set of what are called organoids, which will be little organs grown from stem cells, and they'll be able to leave those on Mars for a length of time to see, and they can measure the genetic occurrences with those chips while they're up there before they put astronauts up there to stay a long time and figure out what happens with them. And they've been putting experiments on the International Space Station now for about 6 years. And to be able to just get a chassis on that space where they can get companies that want to see what's the effect of weightlessness on some of our products. And so they can design experiments with companies, have them plugged into the International Space Station, have them rotate for several months, bring them back, and then see what the impact is. A kid that started that is from Bardstown, Kentucky.
Wow.
Got two brothers, all three were engineers.
Yeah.
And they have 26 employees now, and the average salary is in six figures for those people.
Excellent.
It's just really important. There's not much publicity about it. We don't cover things like that anymore. So
Yeah.
we're trying to find that out and use it for motivation. It's cool stuff. So.
Thank you, Dr. Todd. We have several Kentuckians that have been involved in Artemis from the beginning, in the original unmanned launch to this group now. I've been seeing so many Kentucky young people highlighted for their work in Artemis, so thank you. I know that Chair Snell is in the audience and ready for us, but before we do that, I would like to turn the floor over to Dr. Robinson for a special recognition this morning.
Thank you, Dr. Young. I have actually two items. The first, I want to connect with the comments offered and observations offered by Harper and several of you associated with civic engagement. I had the occasion to visit at Bloom Elementary, where Alfonso teaches,
Yes.
and he welcomed me as I joined a fifth grade teacher. And the fifth grade social science and language arts collaboration, as students were involved in an exercise to develop a bill of their own that as they organized into every branch of government, legislative, judicial, and executive, regarding the proposal that the cafeteria would become vegetarian only. And that proposition was being debated. This whole exercise culminates in a visit to Frankfurt during the General Assembly, where students come prepared to engage with members of the legislature with whom they had appointments regarding certain proposals that the students had researched and developed a position on. And it was such a fulsome, robust level of student engagement all across the curriculum, including the agricultural implications, as well as the economic implications, and as well as the idea of, is our society designed to take options away from people through regulation, or is our purpose as a democracy the requirement to create safe options for all citizens to exercise their freedom of choice?
Like
It was
vegan
a
hot dogs.
fascinating engagement with fifth graders. It lasted all day. I was really, really exhilarated and tired because those students were so on and so tuned in, and they were writing notes, and the structure of that exercise left me really hopeful. So Harper, if we can get busy to support more vibrant instruction like that all across our Commonwealth, we'll be all right. So you and other students with whom we engage keep us hopeful and energized and focused. So I thank you for your service. I have a very important and honor that I'm going to ask the board to share with me. And this is our opportunity to recognize an outstanding board member for his long service to public education in Kentucky. Dr. Lee Todd's term on the board will expire April 14. And I want to be the very, very first to thank him for his dedication, his support, and his advocacy on this board. I am going to promise you, Dr. Todd has come to every meeting fully prepared to be engaged across the whole agenda, including I assure you, having had questions put to us before we get to the table and having plenty of challenging questions for us at the table. So I'm asking the board to join me in recognizing Dr. Todd for his service and dedication to the Kentucky Board of Education, but more so his dedication to the students throughout the Commonwealth. Now, as you know, the Kentucky Board of Education is committed. I'm sharing now remarks that have been shared with the governor's office. The Kentucky Board of Education is committed to improving the future of all Kentuckians by taking an active role in advancing and growing community partnerships and providing leadership to provide every student with equal access to high quality, lifelong learning. Lee T. Todd Jr. of Lexington was appointed to the board in December 2019 and reappointed in May 2022, having served as the former president of the University of Kentucky and former member of the Kentucky Electrical Engineering faculty. Dr. Todd's career reflects a commitment to strengthening Kentucky's economy by bridging research, industry, innovation, and education. Todd founded 2 technology companies based on his research and later convinced Hughes Aircraft, which bought one of his companies, to move 2 divisions to a Lexington facility that initiated UK's Coldstream Research Campus. Todd served 10 years as the 11th president of the University of Kentucky. He is a proud graduate of Earlington High School, holds a BS degree in electrical engineering from UK, and his MS and PhD degrees from MIT, where he received 6 patents in the area of large screen projection displays. Dr. Todd has dedicated much of his service to the Kentucky Board of Education, supporting professional learning for educators and consistently highlighting the importance of science, mathematics, and technology education, among other learning experiences, as the drivers of student opportunity. Dr. Todd has advocated for students and educators across the Commonwealth so that every student has the opportunity for a successful future. As his term ends April 14, Dr. Todd, we thank you sincerely. Please.
Well, thank you very much. I have to say that I've served on several boards, but I'm not sure any boards have been as well populated as this one has, with people who are really, really passionate about what they do and have done it already themselves and know what it's like to be in those seats. From the superintendents, from the teachers, from the professors, from the universities, KSCTC, from Julie Powell, who's an advocate for education at many extremes, and judges who understand what the legislative process is all about. The amalgamation of this group with the Workforce and Education Cabinet and CP is instrumental in whether we're going to make this thing really work or not. The addition of students has added some pop to this place. Yeah. And it really is impressive. And teachers that have come on board to talk about their experiences from their daily lives. I have to say the KDE staff, the longer I'm here, the more I understand about how professional they are. From the administrative side that make the meetings run so smoothly, from the technical side that makes things work, from the professionals who handle all the different things from buses to CSI schools to I think one thing that's impressed me is that the schools who come in here who've gotten off of their probationary period can't say enough good things about the people who've worked with them from KDE to try to make them successful. And so I applaud the entire KDE operation. From the commissioner's point of view, I think Interim Commissioner Kenny helped us begin to have relations with the legislature that were missing and needed badly. And Commissioner Fletcher has added that in spades, has been there. And that's the only way you get stuff from the thought to the legislation. And I congratulate you on that. To be a part of a moonshot that many people might not have given a chance to see it as a piece of legislation on a governor's desk that I'm sure will pass it and be pleased to do that is quite an accomplishment for this group. And I can't say enough about Sharon and Lou. I don't know how they do what they do and the magnitude of the things that they've done. They've had many accomplishments on their own right, but the time they spend on this and the passion they bring to it is remarkable. So it's been an honor to work with all of you all the way around the room, and I'll keep my eyes on things. I'm still pushing education, and I appreciate the opportunity the governor gave me to serve on this in this capacity.
Thank you,
all.
Dr.
Thank you.
Todd.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. Thank you so much, Dr. Todd. We will be thanking you long into the future and look for your continued contribution to our work. Dr. Young, would you
Thank you.
recognize Chair Snell?
Thank you. Yes, thanks so much. At this time, we'll turn our attention to our reports items on the agenda. And Chair Snell her students are waiting somewhere unless it's spring break. So I always worry about what's happening behind you. But she's here this morning to share a report from the Education Professional Standards Board.
Good morning, guys. It is actually spring break for
Okay.
me, so you may hear students in the background. They just may live with me. So I do apologize. They're working on dishes upstairs, so if you hear things clinking or kids screaming, they are fine. We're just on day 4 of spring break. Thank you all so much for having me. I wanted to just listen. As I listen into your all's board meeting, it is sometimes very different than ours, and I love that you all start with the good news. And I love that there are just opportunities to celebrate some of the things that are going on in the state of Kentucky. Harper, I just want to thank you for bringing up what you said earlier, and I couldn't see your nameplate, but I just wanted to echo that. That has long been a passion of mine, and I can remember going through a rush at Eastern, and it was during the national Iowa primaries, and just asking as part of that question, who is the incumbent, and people not knowing what the word incumbent meant, or who was running for president, or who our president was. And regardless of what side of the aisle you fall on, those are our civic duty and responsibilities. So thank you for bringing that up. As a math teacher, those problem solving and logical thinking skills, right, are things that whatever arena we put them in are important for all of our students to have, but that civics piece is so important. So thank you for mentioning that. And in that vein, I just wanted to, from EPSB's perspective, we spent a lot of time working with legislators starting in the summer, all the way through the legislative session, just reaching out, building those partnerships that Dr. Fletcher has been a part of, that KBE has been a part of. And so we're just very thankful for those relationships that we've been able to build with the legislators to help advance and promote the education profession, right? For students and educators in the state of Kentucky. At our February 17th regular meeting, representatives from Northern Kentucky University College of Education shared with us about their North Up philosophy and the college's efforts to create exceptional, adaptable educators and leaders who are going to make dynamic differences in their communities. They highlighted several accomplishments, including successful Option 9 program that supports paraprofessionals in their pursuit of a bachelor's degree and initial teaching certification. You can read more about the exciting work underway at NKU in the Kentucky Teacher Feature article. We also held 2 virtual meetings in March to conduct character and fitness reviews and to review potential actions relating to complaints and reports. Those regular virtual meetings support our board's mission to enforce rigorous professional standards for preparation, certification, and responsible and ethical behavior for all professional educators in Kentucky. Shouting out the Educators Rising State Conference, just like so many of you have. CJ and I both got to be there, as well as Priscilla Keller, and I'm trying to think, we had Eli Edwards were there. We had several of us there that got to go and be judges and participate in the first time. Chair Young was there and facilitated the student session on the United We Learn, and 875 is the number that I had as well. So that was up from 774 from last year. It just was, for someone who had never been, it was a phenomenal atmosphere. The kids were excited. I got to see the competition I judged were like amazing things that were going on at the kids' school. And I took so many notes to take back to our district. Just seeing all of the awesome things that are going on in different districts throughout the state of Kentucky was a very cool experience, and I look forward to doing that next year. While I have just a second, I wanted to once again thank Cassie Trueblood for her time at KDE and in support of the Educational Professional Standards Board. Our last meeting with her, I think, was February 17th. And she accepted a new position, I believe, with CPE. But we have hired on a new attorney through the diligent hard work of Todd Allen. So Whitney Crow joined us on April 1st, I believe, and we look forward to her first meeting with us in person on April 21st. Real quickly, I would love to shout out, if I may have the privilege of doing so, my school, Madison Central High School, my admin, our local law enforcement. The Thursday before we left on spring break, so a week ago today, we got an anonymous tip that led to an evacuation of our building and relocation of over 2,000 students. And watching our community come together and the responsiveness of our admin, of our local PD, of all of the people involved, from someone who was there as an educator, but also as a parent on a soccer field, you know, wondering where her own children were. I never had concerns for my students, for my student safety. They did a phenomenal job. And so as much as we hope that those experiences never happen, it made me proud to be an Indian that day, and very proud of my community for the way that they came together. So I think that remembering that we are wider than the classroom doors, we are wider than the classroom building, and the impact of our local communities and our local districts that we serve, and those partnerships is important. I'm trying to make sure I hit all my notes that were not on my paper, right? Like, we make our own notes. Lastly, we appreciate the engagement and participation in the Research Practice Collaborative, alongside with my fellow EPSB and KBE stakeholders and other education stakeholders. I'm excited to see what emerges from the final recommendations as we seek to innovate strategies to address an ongoing teacher shortage in our Commonwealth. The EPSB holds its next regular meeting on April 21st, and at this time, I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Questions for Chair Snell?
Lou,
Yes,
I would,
ma'am.
if I may,
Please.
I want to commend Chair Snell and our colleagues on EPSB for the intense engagement I have experienced as we pursue the research collaborative. I mean, we are going really, really deep on some issues, and I'm particularly fascinated by the opportunities that we see emerging around this issue of retention, which represents a huge investment in our education workforce that we must protect and prevent losing all that they have poured into themselves, that we have poured into them, and help our colleagues find ways to be fulfilled staying in the work. And it's been really, really fulfilling. And I think it's going to be very constructive, the engagement that we are pursuing. So, hey, that's good work that we're doing together. And we're going to find a way to engineer these interventions that will keep the valuable professionals we have in the profession.
Hear, hear. I echo those words, Dr. Robinson, and particularly as we are really surfacing issues related to working conditions and leadership when it comes to the likelihood that a teacher is going to stay in the profession. And that's information that our board and your board, Chair Snell, can mine for really good progress in those areas. So I appreciate the partnership and locking arms with EPSB to do this work. So thank you. Any other questions? Chair Snell, thank you. I also saw your social media post about the bomb threat that day, so I really appreciate just shining a light on an episode that happened in the life of a teacher, a whole school district, a mom. People brought snacks. It's when communities, they're at their finest sometimes in those difficult situations. So thank you. We really appreciate you and Vice Chair Fryer for your joining our meetings. Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Thompson is not able to join us today, but I will call your attention to his report from the President of the Council on Post-Secondary Education in your portal, and happy to turn over reports times to Secretary Link with the Education and Labor Cabinet.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Madam Vice Chair. Since I get to steal a couple of minutes from Dr. Thompson, just a couple of personal notes. Hopefully I'm not going anywhere, but it has been a real pleasure and an honor to work and get to know all of you, work with and get to know you. But as a proud UK graduate, I'm especially honored to have known Dr. Todd and get to know you. And thank you for your wisdom and guidance. And I have your contact information, so you're not going to get away from me. So I hope I can call you for guidance in the future. And then for Harper, started in state government in 1985, and having seen how government has evolved, not only at the state level, but local and national as well. And throughout my primary and secondary education, history and civics and social studies were three of my favorite courses. I loved it. And I think over this time, there have been a lot of challenges that have arisen in government and public policy. And I think that also presents a great opportunity. And I think one of the greatest opportunities is our young people to be engaged, just as you said, to understand public policy, to educate yourself about it, to read the paper, to watch the news. It can be discouraging at times, but to know what's going on in the world, and not just social media and things like that. You have to be careful about the information you get, but to educate yourself on what's going on, and then being a part of the process. And I would never run for office. I don't have the temperament for it, but I really admire the people that do, because in this day and age, you're opening yourself up to a pretty difficult process. But I appreciate the fortitude that people have, and we'll look to you to be the future of this. And when you run for office, I'll come work for your campaign.
Perfect.
So a couple of personal notes there, and thank you for that. From the Education and Labor Cabinet, like Dr. Perry said yesterday, we've all been watching the evolution of the General Assembly And as we approach the final 2 days of the session, there's still a lot that can happen. So we have been watching bills that both directly and indirectly impact our cabinet and the people we serve, how the legislation impacts them as well. So we will continue to watch, and I think our cabinet is somewhat fortunate in that I think workforce development and workforce training and those types of things are really nonpartisan. I think we all want the same goals. We want to have an educated, trained workforce, and we want people to have successful careers. So that's been, and conversations with legislators on both sides have been very positive, and it just reinforces that we all want to achieve the same goals. However, out of this session, and somewhat surprisingly, our Department of Workers' Claims, which is workers' compensation, was reorganized out of the cabinet and moved under the office of the governor. And that becomes effective today, as a matter of fact. So we are working to accomplish that transition, more of the administrative functions of that department. And we'll work with the governor's office and budget office and others to finalize that. It'll be a smooth transition, I'm sure. But we were also happy that the General Assembly fully funded the Dolly Parton Imagination Library, which I think is so important to our youngest children and their literacy evolution. So I was really happy to see that funding come through. I've mentioned to you before the statewide workforce and talent team, SWAT. It continues to grow and strengthen, and we are expanding constantly with bringing in new partners all across the state. I was recently in Northern Kentucky at the chamber meeting to speak about workforce development and SWAT and how the communication and the collaboration between the multiple different partners is so important to achieving what we all want to accomplish. Everybody Counts continues to grow. I was talking to Vice Chair Young earlier. We have some funding challenges, as most all of state government agencies do, but that doesn't stop Chris Sanders. He is a bulldog when it comes to this, and we continue to look for opportunities to expand the program I think other school districts are now calling. Yep. And I think that connection between KDE and the cabinet and Everybody Counts is going to be so important going forward. We have about 20 months left in this administration, and this is one of those legacy things that I think I would, and certainly the governor, I don't want to speak for him, but it was his program. Mm-hmm. He stood it up. And I think we'd like to see that continue after us. And we'd like to have that program, no matter what it's called, continue with career coaching and helping these young people determine what their educational and career paths are going to be. And Chris is also, as you noted, is working on the NASB High School Transformation Group, and I will get you all some Valium because Chris's energy is infectious, and he is very committed when you meet with him. So yes. I'm a huge fan of Chris. Also mentioned that registered apprenticeship has become, it's always been very important, but I think the federal government has placed a specific interest on it, and I was glad to see that. And I have some statistics not with me, but the growth of registered apprenticeship has been phenomenal. And it just provides another opportunity for people to find the career path that they want to pursue. And appreciate our work with Dr. Hargis and Mary Taylor, all of KDE, our employers, and the unions who have phenomenal apprenticeship programs, and all the other partners that help us grow registered apprenticeship across the state. Our Department of Workplace Standards, will mention the governor announced last week that Kentucky's workplace injury and illness rate has dropped to an all-time low of 2.5 cases per 100 full-time workers. And that's quite an accomplishment that we're very proud of, and very proud of our Department of Workplace Standards and our occupational safety and health teams that work not only to educate and try to prevent or avoid workplace fatalities and injuries, but also when an incident does occur, to react quickly to assist both the employer and the employee to find the best outcome that we can for them. And lastly, on a bittersweet note, our deputy secretary, my deputy secretary, who I just love, Vicki Wise, is retiring at the end of the month. And I'm, like any retirement, I hate it for us, but I love it for her. She is unbelievable, and she is going to spend time with her family, and she has lots of chores she says she do at home that she wants to do. But it's going to be odd walking in on May 1st and her not being there. So I just want to mention that to all of you, because Vicki has done an incredible job for the cabinet and for state government for many years, and she will be missed. So with that, I'll conclude, and I'll be happy to take any questions you might have.
Thank you. Questions for Secretary Link? Oh, thank you, and please share our hearty congratulations with Deputy Secretary Wise.
Thank
So
you.
wish
I
her
will.
all the best. Thank you. And now we will turn it over to our esteemed commissioner for his report. He
Thanks.
brought props.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair. I do have some props I'll share here shortly. But before I get into my report, I do want to make it's hard to listen to everyone and not make a comment about everything that's been said. So it's so wonderful to hear and hear what's going on.
But I bet you have a comment.
I do have a comment. I do have a comment. In typical Dr. Lee Todd fashion, if you heard him speak earlier, we were spending some time to honor him.
Yep.
And he used that time to lift everyone else up.
Yep.
I'm so thankful to be able to work with Dr. Todd and have that opportunity to see him talk about science, talk about people, and lift people up. So even in the time when the spotlight we're trying to shine it on him, he reflects it to other people. So your kind words about KDE, about the commissioner, I appreciate that so much. Appreciate the work that you've done in your career and how you brought entrepreneurship and pointed us to that, to science. But also, too, thank you for your signature on my master's in administration. So I do
Hanging
have
in
you.
the
We
hall.
appreciate it. It's hanging in my office, so I do appreciate that signature also. So again, I wanted to make that comment of just pointing out what a true statesman that you've been and you continue to be. So thank you for that. Also, too, I do have some props. I'll share that in just a second, but I do want to start off with my school report. You'll see some pictures here about All In for Ag, and I'm going to start off by highlighting our All In for Ag Agricultural Week that was held March 16th through the 20th, which had schools around Kentucky focused on teaching students about agriculture. All In for Ag, and our Commissioner Shell and also Lieutenant Governor Coleman is our important parts of this. They are my partners in crime that week, and we travel around and get to see so many students in action. We get to see vibrant learning going on in our classrooms, taking agriculture and how are we applying what we're doing in our classrooms towards that opportunity. And it has grown. This has grown to a biannual initiative that gives students the opportunity to see the impact of agriculture at high school level for pathways, middle school for exploration, also at the elementary school. It's primarily, a lot of our work has been at the elementary school. We're beginning to expand that a little bit more. But in the elementary school, it's about exposure and introduction and seeing how these students are taking agriculture and using that as a tool to display what they're learning is phenomenal. I really enjoy that. And again, as we've said before, this is an example of vibrant learning, and vibrant learning, in my opinion, is our best tool to fight, our best tool to fix absenteeism in our schools. And it's, again, just to reiterate, that is learning that is relevant, that is joyful, that is important to our students. As a matter of fact, yesterday, student agency takes such a big part in our Portrait of Learner work, our vibrant learning work, and to hear a young lady talk about how having that choice makes it a meaningful opportunity for her to come to school each and every day. And that was in, I think that was in the Rockcastle County video. So again, to reiterate, if you have the opportunity, please watch those videos. But again, I also want to go from talking about the All In for Ag, I do want to bring back to our attention the status of our state waiver to exceed the 1% cap on alternate assessments. We've sent some emails out about this. But during the 2024-2025 school year, the Kentucky assessed slightly more than 1% of its total tested student population using an alternate assessment aligned with alternate academic achievement standards, also affectionately known as AA, AAAS. Because of this exceeded the federal participation threshold, on August 12th, KDE requested a waiver from a provision of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, as amended by the Every Student Succeed Act, that requires states not to assess more than 1% of the total numbers of the assessed students in the state on the AA, AAAS. So keep in mind, this is a percentage that's set forth by Congress. Again, whatever the rationale for that 1%, essentially you were supposed to keep our alternate assessed students below the 1% cap. If you think about this, to me, this comes into conflict if an IEP team has stated that this is a need, this is an accommodation of a student, and we are over that 1%, that conflicts directly with this, because if we're really truly allowing an IEP team to select what's best for a student, how can these two be compatible at all? But in applying for the waiver, KDE assured that it would continue to monitor and be supportive and provide technical assistance to our Kentucky school districts to ensure that all students are assessed appropriately. On February 12th, the U.S. Department of Education, Office of Elementary and Secondary Education, declined to grant us Kentucky's waiver request. In addition to declining the waiver, USAID placed a grant condition on Kentucky's fiscal year 2026 Title I Part A award. Now, what exactly that means, we're still trying to find out what all that means as we move forward, and we're learning more as we go through. But also, USAID did provide directions on how KDE may attempt to remove the condition on funding. This requires the submission of an updated waiver request, an updated plan, public availability of the updated plan, and certain data demonstrating progress in reducing the percentage of students tested on alternate assessments in the 2025-2026 school year. And we are exploring this option and others to limit the impact of the denial of the waiver, and KDE will continue to communicate with USAID regarding this matter. Additionally, we continue to update our district partners as we learn more. Again, we haven't seen anywhere where any funding's been withheld from us at this point, but we're learning more as we go through, and as we get more information, I'll continue to keep the board informed. Just keep that in mind. But also, too, I want to continue with a more positive note as we go through. I do have some updates from KSB and the KSD, and it's also our Kentucky Area Technology Centers, and I do have a written report that's also in this meeting. So we go to the next slide. Here we go. The photos included that you see here highlight the KSB's continued collaboration with the community partners. I have established monthly visits to KSB and KSD, alternating 1 month KSB, the next month KSD, so I have been very blessed to do that. And KSB is collaborating with KDE and the Kentucky Museum of Art to bring professional learning and teaching artists into their school on a rotating basis every 6 to 8 weeks. And the current visiting artist is Susie Hatcher, pictured left, has been sharing her talent with KSB for an incredible 23 years. And this rotation focused on clay, giving students the opportunity to explore texture, form, and creativity through tactile art. And on the right, you have Miss Molly Kay from the Louisville Ballet, who recently led an adaptive dance program with KSB students designed to make movement accessible to all students. And the program was coordinated with Mr. Farewell, who is KSB's PE teacher, to align the students' physical education goals and individual needs. And before I go, and if we go to the next slide, please, with KSD, in my recent visit to KSD, I had actually had 2 gifts. The other one's on my desk, but I had 2 gifts waiting for me. This was 3D printed at KSD. They also have they have a laser printer there and other things of that nature, but it actually goes through the sign for each letter of my name, Dr. Fletcher. But even more importantly, I was given a sign name, and this happened early on. Each person has a sign name, and I've seen different people, but a student gave me a sign name. This is typically commissioner, okay? So the student comes and said, well, she said, I have the perfect name for you, and it's RF. So commissioner, and so it's, instead of the C going back and forth, that symbol, it is RF. So Commissioner Robbie Fletcher. So that's my sign name, in case you were wondering. So very thankful to be a part of now to be acclimated into the culture a little bit better. But as you look on this slide, it includes one from my recent visit to KSD. And this gives me valuable opportunities to hear directly from the students. And my other gift that was waiting for me was a young man was waiting for me when I came in the door. He signed "Welcome Back," and he gave me a snowman that he had taken a piece of paper and folded and cut so that when you fold it one way, it looked like a snowman stacked. So both were very special to me, but for him to say "Welcome Back" meant a lot to me. So I really, really appreciate that. But also pictured on the left, we do have the fourth grade and kindergarten students working on math together. A great opportunity to see that. But I do want to give special congratulations to the KSD boys and girls basketball teams who traveled to the Tennessee School for the Deaf. And the boys players earned their first win in several years. As a matter of fact, they picked up 2 wins this year. And 2 of the players have already told me they're already training for next year, and they're going to bring back more victories next year. But again, it was great to talk with those young men, to talk about how those 2 wins have, they're going to work harder. They're going to do their conditioning. It's amazing to see the motivation in those 2 young men on the basketball team. So again, always a great opportunity to be with students at KSB and KSD. Next slide, please. At our area technology centers, this will close with some updates from our group there. Pictured at the right is the grand opening of the new Breathitt County Area Technology Center on February 9th, 2026, marking an important milestone following the devastating loss of the original facility in the historic 2022 flood. Hazard Community Technical College, Lee's campus, and the University of Kentucky provide temporary instructional space, while Breathitt County Schools and Jackson Independent Schools work diligently to establish a new permanent location. Local business and industry graciously donated needed equipment, and State Senator Brandon Smith and State Representative Chris Fugit worked with local leaders in securing critical funding to the project. Pictured on the left are students from the Shelby County ATC and Shelby County's ATC's Career and Technical Student Organization, Future Business Leaders of America members, organized a seasonal donation drive to support local families in need, demonstrating a strong commitment to service, leadership, and community engagement. So this is my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions as I can, and I'll turn it back over to Vice Chair Young.
Thank you. Questions for Dr. Fletcher?
I have been instructed to say thank you for the upgrades at Grow Hall.
Oh,
So,
yay.
from the food service folks at Grow Hall, thank you very much.
Excellent.
Our OSEAL team and our plant manager group there has done a great job to make sure that our students have good facilities and top-notch facilities. So thank you for
It's
that.
appreciated.
Thank you so much.
And those facilities updates are in the report in the portal. So, Dr. Jones, if you would check with Greta and Shannon about graduation dates for KSB and KSD. I invite you to join us for those if your schedule will at all permit. They are amazing celebrations of the work happening at those schools. Thank you so much. We are doing great on time this morning, so I would like to invite Chief Performance Officer Karen Dodd. I don't see Rob Collins. Oh, he's on, Strategic Data Analyst Rob Collins is online to present the report this morning.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Dr. Todd, congratulations. I'd just like to add my voice to that. It's been a pleasure working with you. Today, we're going to talk about the customer service survey that we send out every year. I am joined by Dr. Robert Collins. He is our newest strategic data analyst on my team. And if he looks familiar, it's because he was formerly on Dr. Foster's team and part of their division of innovation. So he's joined the light side.
Not the dark side.
Okay, so I just want to give a little bit of background. I feel like I'm like yelling into this mic. A little bit of background. This is a survey that we give every year. Last year, our numbers were a little bit low, and you may recall that was because when we sent it out, we asked superintendents to just share it with their central office, whereas in years past, we've had them share it with all of their principals as well. So we neglected to do that last year. We've corrected it this year. You are going to see much higher numbers, but you will also see that our scores did go down as a result. So last year was an anomaly. We had quite a spike because it was really just superintendents and DACs who responded to the survey. And now we've added in all those teachers again and some other roles, which Rob's going to go over all of those demographics with you. So stealing his thunder a little bit here, but just wanted you to be aware that just what's coming. So with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Rob.
Awesome. Thank you, Karen. Board members, it's a pleasure to be here with you. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. So just to jump right in, quick overview of the survey. The purpose was really to gather candid, actionable feedback from a variety of our customers, not only to inform continuous improvement of the overall operations of KDE, but also to inform our work with the United We Learn vision. The structure of the survey did capture the respondents' role, the frequency of their engagement with KDE, including with specific offices, and also demographic information like gender, things like that. There was a quantitative evaluation across our 3 core domains, and those are leadership, communication, and customer service. We also got qualitative insights from the final 2 questions of the survey, which were open-ended. Question 10, I believe, was, has your opinion of KDE's leadership changed in the past year? And question 11 was an open-ended, would you like to give any more information or context? Just a note, all responses were confidential, and they're reported here in aggregate only. This is just a quick screenshot of what the survey actually looked like for respondents. So you'll notice the actual question is highlighted there at the top, and then it was sort of a Likert scale for most questions with options to the left, and then their actual rating, either never to exclusively, or perhaps from strongly disagree to strongly agree, and also not applicable. For data cleaning on the survey, all responses were included in the calculations, and that does include non-applicable responses. This just reflects the total respondent sentiment to avoid some inflated agreement rates. You'll see that across the domains, and we'll talk about that a bit more. Domain results are based on average favorable responses. That's agree and strongly agree, and we summarize those across items. For the qualitative responses, I coded by sentiment and by theme so that there were multiple tags available, and we could also dig into some of that mixed sentiment that some comments left. For each of the reports today, you'll notice that the denominators vary by question. It's not by much, but there's some attrition over time in a survey like this. So those are noted in the data tables. So overview statistics about the survey. It was open for 30 days from February 5th to March 5th of this year. There were 11 questions. The total number of responses initiated was 2,179. However, question 2 asked how often the respondents work with KDE, and if they selected never, they were thanked for their time, but then the survey discontinued. So the full sample size that we're looking at for most questions here is 1,381 respondents. So that completion rate is about 82%, and it took an approximate 5 minutes to complete the survey. So this is just a quick description of the respondents' roles. This was question number 1. You'll notice our largest respondent group this year is teachers, which is up significantly from last year and even 2024 as well. But you can see the spread of respondents here from teachers, superintendents, district admin, principals, and other staff as well. This was question number 2, which was that disqualifying question. So it asked about respondents' frequency of working with KDE. Again, you'll note if they selected never, they were discontinued from taking the rest of the survey. So those that selected rarely, some of the time, and often are the rest of our sample size. This is just a quick data table to give you a bit more information about the respondents' roles and what they selected. What you might notice here, Actually, yeah, we can go on to the next slide. The insights from frequency of work by role, we noticed that our superintendents and district administrators are KDE's most frequent partners, and that's over 80% of each group reporting that they consult with KDE at least some of the time, up to often. We noticed that principals, school admin, teachers, student support staff report far less direct contact, and more than half of support staff and over a third of teachers report never consulting with KDE. So again, those numbers were removed because they said they never consulted. The engagement gaps provide important context for the domain scores. The roles with least direct contact with KDE typically rate the agency lower than those that have higher direct contact. So this is just a quick data table from respondents' race. You'll notice that the vast majority of respondents selected white or Caucasian, with preferring not to answer be our second highest category, then Black or African American is our next highest, and then some other responses throughout the other races as well. It's a quick look into gender. You'll notice that female was the highest rated gender of our respondents, with 71% of respondents selecting female. Males were at 27%, and then the rest were either preferring not to answer, and one response as another gender. So highly female in terms of the spread. So this is a stacked bar chart of the frequency of work with KDE offices. Now, I won't go deeply into each number for each office, but I will just let you look at, we have the offices notated on the left. So Office of Teaching and Learning, Office of Legal Services, etc. And you'll notice from the left over, at the left, we have never. So our lowest rated response, going all the way up to exclusively and I don't know. So just to give you an idea of the spread for these responses. I think we can go to the next slide. Insights from frequency of work by office. Our Office of Legal Services is the least engaged office. For those who took the survey, 69% of respondents report never working with OLS.
Excellent.
That can certainly be a good thing as well. Our Office of Educator Licensure and Effectiveness and our Office of Assessment and Accountability see the most engagement, and that's 56% of respondents reporting at least some interaction with them. We do note that across all offices, never's the most common response, and that's even for the most consulted offices, and fewer than half of respondents report any particular regular contact. So now we're diving into the actual domain agreement. So the way this works is the survey presented a leadership domain question and asked respondents to rate their agreement with a statement. So you'll notice on the left of the chart, we have those statements. For example, the first one is KDE is proactive in addressing educational issues in the Commonwealth. And then we have the stacked bar chart, again, going from strongly disagree all the way over to the left, up to strongly agree or not applicable up to the right. And you'll notice there's significantly more blue on this particular domain in these questions. So next slide. This is just the domain agreement by job role. So breaking that down even further to let you know, by statement, here's how superintendents felt, how principals felt, how teachers felt. You'll notice that, as I mentioned earlier, superintendent agreement is significantly higher than, let's say, teacher agreement, and that bears across the entire survey. And we can go to the next slide for insights. So insights from our leadership domain, superintendents rate KDE leadership most favorably, and that's with 84% agreement. KDE demonstrates integrity is our highest rated leadership statement overall at 74% agreement. But we note that agreement drops sharply among teachers and other respondents. KDE is proactive in addressing educational issues is our lowest rated statement for this domain at 62% agreement. But we do note that overall favorable agreement, that's agree and strongly agree, summarized together, is at 67%. We'll move on to the next domain. This was for communication. So again, you'll have your statements over to the left and the stacked bar chart here showing across all respondents levels of agreement. We can move to the data table. Again, this is the data broken out by statement and by particular role. So for examining superintendent versus teachers, et cetera. And our insights from communication. Again, we know that superintendents rate communication at 87% agreement versus a low of 60% for our teachers. And that is the largest gap of any of our 3 domains across the survey. KDE communicates professionally is our highest rated statement at 80%, and it's most consistent across all roles. KDE leverages social media effectively is our lowest rated statement in the survey, and it's notably lowest amongst district administrators at 46%. This is a key performance indicator in our strategic plan, so we are monitoring this closely. We see that awareness of United We Learn shows the sharpest role divide between superintendents, which is up at 90%, and teachers, which is around 56%.
That deserves
Next
applause,
domain.
does it not?
Right, that's good to know, yeah.
So our final domain is customer service. And again, same experience here, statements on the left, and then the stacked bar chart showing agreement from left to right. And our following data table, again, statements, and then you have your agreement. And we'll move on to the insights and talk about those. So for our customer service insights, KDE staff are recognized for courtesy at almost 80% and their knowledge across all roles. And this really suggests that our interpersonal interactions are an organizational strength. Asking about 24-hour response and then going above and beyond are our weakest service statements at 55% and 60% respectively. Among teachers, fewer than half at 46% agree that they receive timely responses. And that does suggest for us a gap at the classroom level of service from KDE. There was a statement, KDE's crisis response has been valuable, and that's the lowest rated statement at 45%. But we do know that there was a high rate of not applicable responses. So about 17% of responses or of respondents said that wasn't applicable. And that may suggest that crisis support may not have been needed or sought by respondents. So this is our trend data from 2019 up to 2026. And you'll notice it follows leadership, communication, and customer service. Now at 2026, you'll note that leadership is at 67%, communication is 66% agreement, and customer service is 64%. And as Karen noted at the top of this presentation, that is lower than 2025. But really, 2025 is an anomaly of a year, given that there were so few teacher respondents. 2024 is really our next best, most like year in terms of respondents. And you'll note that we have seen our trends rise significantly from 2024.
And I would also just point out here, you'll see that there are no results in here for 2020. We did not administer the survey during the pandemic. And so 2021 is where we see that next spike. And from that, as we recall, people were just really happy to be back to the norm. So there was a bit of a glow, if you will, with responses that year. So that would really explain both of those spikes that we see in the data.
Okay. Now for a quick update for our strategic plan goals. Looking at communication, our strategic plan outlines the following goal: that we will increase customer satisfaction based on average favorable agreement for I know who to contact to get information and KDE values feedback. Our goal was to rise from 56% in 2024 to 66% in 2029. These results show that we are at 62.03% for 2026. So we are making progress toward that goal, especially over 2024, which was at 56%. Our key performance indicator for the customer satisfaction piece in the strategic plan is to increase the superintendent satisfaction rate for KDE is responsive in communications. In 2025, we had 68% favorable agreement. In 2026, that number has risen to almost 85%. So 84.81% agree that KDE is responsive in communications amongst superintendents. And that's of 67 out of 79 superintendents who took this survey agreed that we are responsive as an agency. KPI 2 for customer satisfaction is to increase that district administrator rate for KDE leverages social media effectively. And again, we've already spoken about this, that this is our lowest indicator across the survey. In 2025, our district administrators responded at 51% favorable agreement. In 2026, that is now at 46%. So again, that bears a closer look, especially with our communications team. Our goal for the leadership domain was to improve average favorable agreement from 60% in 2024 to 76% in 2029. In 2026, we're currently sitting at 67.42%. So we are making progress along that goal, again, especially when compared with 2024. So when looking at the open-ended responses, these were questions 10 and 11, the final questions of the survey. Question 10, again, asked about respondents' view of the leadership of KDE and if that had changed year over year. And then question 11 was really a catch-all, share any other comments you may have with us. I reviewed the responses and coded them for sentiment. So they were coded either positive, negative, or mixed or neutral. And then I looked at thematic content as well. Of the 517 responses to those two open-ended questions, 309 of them were classified as uninformative, so around 60%. And what I mean by uninformative is perhaps the respondent just put NA for does not apply. Perhaps they said there's no change in the way I feel, or there were some thanking us for sending out the survey. So those kinds of questions. I excluded those from the thematic analysis. That means we had 208 substantive responses that were coded across 3 themes. Just so you know how I established these themes, they had to represent a minimum of 15% of the substantive responses, and that was at least 32 comments related to that particular theme. I did analyze by respondent role. That was a request that we had from the leadership team. However, at such small numbers across themes, once we began looking at separate roles, there really was no particular theme revealed by respondent role there, just because of the numbers. So the 3 themes that emerged from those open-ended questions, we saw responsiveness and customer service was a topic of interest, leadership and direction, and policy, guidance, and accountability. And what I'll do now is sort of summarize the insights from those 3 themes. So for responsiveness and customer service, the majority of respondents who commented on service reported positive experiences. So they were citing helpful staff, improved response times, and overall a more accessible agency. Though again, there was some variability across offices and individuals, and there was some concerns about consistency across some pieces of the agency. For leadership and direction, there was overall confidence in KDE's current leadership. That was noted as a clear strength. And many respondents cited Commissioner Fletcher's district-level background as a meaningful asset. However, there was a notable share of expressed concern that strategic initiatives aren't consistently reaching or resonating at the classroom level. For policy guidance and accountability, This was the most critically rated theme in the qualitative analysis. Every substantive response there was coded either negative or mixed, and respondents consistently cited regulatory burden, some unclear implementation timelines, and then also a perceived disconnect between what policy expectations are and what the actual lived experience of on-the-ground capacity is in schools and districts. So from this survey, our general insights and next steps, overall favorability remains positive across all three of our domains. And we note again that staff courtesy, professionalism, and integrity remain top rated items, which I'm very proud of as part of the agency. We do see areas for continued attention include teacher engagement and service strategies across the board. We are, of course, looking at social media effectiveness, especially with our district leaders. And also, we're looking at clarity around agency contacts, which I know is already work happening amongst the leadership team at the agency. And with that, I'm happy to address any questions, comments, or concerns.
Thank you, Rob. Lots of good information. I do think you achieved finding actionable information that the commissioner and the broader KDE team can use in terms of how to better improve our customer service. That question of reaching to the classroom, I think, is certainly a challenge for a state agency. I was trying to recall if at any time when I was a classroom teacher, if I reached out to the department, and as a world languages teacher, the answer was yes. Sometimes I needed to talk to the world languages person. So, but that's a tall order when there are 60,000 classroom educators across Kentucky. So I'm sure you guys wring hands and ruminate on that one quite often. You do have the full data set in your portal, but are there questions that you might have? Alfonso.
Hi. So I have several questions. I have been taking notes in here I'm going to start with the very beginning. In the slides, let me see if I can find it in here. I think it was said at the very beginning of on slide number 6 of the 630 response surveys that were discontinued, how many of those were teachers? If you cannot get it right, I can get that information there. It's okay to wait.
Looks like he's
Yeah, no,
searching.
I'm trying to pull up the slides. Sorry.
Okay, it's
Alfonso.
okay.
I do think it was the
So,
majority that were teachers that were disqualified.
Okay.
Yeah, 36.2% of teachers reported that they never work with KDE, and that's out of the 630 respondents, I believe.
Did that include teachers that said never because they work within an environment where the following the chain of command is very strict? And I'm saying this because I have heard of a lot of teachers in the field that they are actually told, do not reach out KDE because you have to reach out first, your leadership in the district and whatnot. I'm just saying this because then later on, we go to other parts of this presentation, like slide 20, where you say about the how superintendent seems to be more aware of things than teachers, and I heard you saying about the teacher perception of all of this, and it makes me wonder then, like, what type of data, what type of information are we trying to get in here, especially when this survey already shows that the teacher engagement with our state agency is not quite there. So that's something, reflection out loud, I wanted to mention. My second question is, one of my very first jobs ever was in customer service. And one of the very first things that I always learned from my leaders back then was that not everybody in the public that we serve is going to speak the same language. We have 51,000 multilingual learners in our schools, plus their families. Just in Jefferson County alone, there are more than 150 languages represented in the district, not in the school district, in the district itself, in the county. It really shocked me that there were no questions in terms of communication around that topic, especially when, as a state agency, thinking in order to provide excellent service, assistance, and support, we also have to count and provide for these members of the public. And especially when this year we have rolled out in Go Teach Kentucky this thing called Ask Diego AI that provides information in other languages. So are you all planning at some point to include that question, or has that been taken into account?
Can you tell me what specifically is the question you would like to see asked?
A question around providing service in languages other than English.
Oh, just giving the survey in other languages?
No, not the survey, but providing service from our state agency to people whose first language is not English.
Okay, I understand.
That's why I was mentioning the Go Teach Kentucky, because this year we roll out Ask Diego AI, and it works great, and it provides tons of information about the educator certification in languages other than English. And it has been very valuable to the many families that I have had the opportunity to talk about. So
I know that we are redoing our website, and that has been something that's been discussed, having something like Diego for the entire site. So the answer is yes, that is under discussion.
We are trying to find the cousin of Diego possibly to include. We have had that discussion about, because Diego has the AI Diego has been able to do so many things for us to help, especially multilingual or ELL population. And provide those services. So that's something else that we think may be valuable in our redesign of our website.
Okay. And my last question is, I couldn't help but think on the slide number 20 again, we mentioned something about KD leverages social media effectively. What does effectively mean?
So that's a very good question.
And
we had this exact same conversation in our leadership meeting, and so we're thinking of actually sending something out. What would effective social media look like to you?
And depending on who, because Secretary Link mentioned something before, and I'm thinking about Harper, I'm thinking about myself, I'm thinking about all of us. We all use social media in so many different ways, and our level of savviness is different from across the board. So what does effectively mean, not only in terms of success, but also usage, and also depending on who we are and which role we play? Because I don't know about you, Dr. Fletcher, but how much do you use social media in your office versus, I don't know, some students in high school that we may be using this to show our portrait of a learner through creating TikTok videos, for example, right? So what does effectively mean?
Yeah, we're looking into that one.
Excellent, thank you. Mr. Trimble.
I'd just like to make a couple of comments. I know that there's a high number of teachers saying never worked with KDE, and then I think Alfonso mentioned that like a chain of command. When I was a teacher, I never thought about talking to the KDE. I talked to my principal.
Right.
When I was a principal, I talked to the people at the board office, and the board office people went to the superintendent, and that's the people that really worked with KDE. And I noticed there's 85% that felt good superintendents, and I think that's a great number. How our superintendents feel about the people here and the commissioner.
Agreed. And when I think about that teacher engagement, they're not going to be calling the school nutrition folks. They're not going to be calling the Office of Finance and Operations folks. They're not going to be calling legal services. Nobody's calling legal services.
Nope.
So
That's a good thing.
So they're really going to be zooming in on the Office of Teaching and Learning, and so that kind of limits the engagement. But to Dr. Fletcher's challenge then, to what extent do we recognize teachers as a primary audience? Certainly not across the spectrum of the agency, but in those places where it's clear that there could be increased teacher engagement, then work to do just that.
And so one of the things that I'm sorry, one of the things that we talked about was being more targeted with how we get this out next year. So through our advisory groups or the distribution list through our offices. Right now, it's an email that goes to superintendents and they are asked to share it. So it depends on if they share it and who they share it with.
Sure.
So we're hoping that next year, every year we try to improve. So next year we hope to send it out through some other distribution lists and see if we can be more targeted in reaching the teachers who would have more interaction with us.
Excellent. Thank you. Dr. Poe?
I just have to share a story that Mr. Trimble brought up in my mind, out of that deep recesses there of the mind. When I was an early superintendent, I thought, okay, why should my district office people or the other ones call me for me to call the state? So I gave them the authority to call KDE. I received a call from the commissioner and was summoned down here to the commissioner. Well, it wasn't this building, it's the old building. And was summoned there and told specifically, teachers do not call KDE.
No.
You are the district superintendent and you answer their questions. And if you have a call, you call us. So that's the
Alrighty then.
example between then and now. 100% true story. I learned very quickly as a young superintendent that we didn't contact KDE after that very much. So it's really a pleasure to see some of these things because it's a totally different service atmosphere
Come a long way,
now.
baby. Yeah.
Oh,
There
yeah,
we go.
but that was a meeting I can tell you I remember quite well.
Awesome. All right, thank you. Oh, I'm sorry, Holly.
Do you think that teachers realize that their work with letters and those kinds of things, that would play into this too? I'm assuming it's not just if I email KDE, or it would be just.
Oh, that's a good question. I guess it depends on the nature of the actual survey question.
That's why we think if we had Mickey's team send out the survey to those particular
Because,
people, they would
looking
make
through it,
that
it's not
connection. So that's why we want to
necessarily
change that up next year.
Yeah, like a call or an email, yeah. Dr. Robinson?
Yeah, I really think that one of the questions that pops into my mind is what is the objective of the communication with various of these role groups, all of whom we regard as our customers. And so that would actually kind of be an underlying foundation for how we communicate with them. Thereby, we could be more, I think, more specific about and add some more context to the findings that we're getting from the survey. And just as, Holly mentioned letters and the numeracy effort, and every teacher should be, by my lights, we should make sure every teacher's aware of Kentucky United We Learn and how it informs the likely future of their endeavors, and giving them on-ramps, giving them ways to kind of get engaged with all of this. And I'm going to just say, hopefully, I hope we're also giving hope and inspiring rededication to the effort through our communication with all of these constituent groups. So, Commissioner, we just look forward to hearing more about how we will address some of these findings, because I do believe that they're indicators of very important strategic opportunities.
Excellent.
Our Chief Information Officer, our Director of Communications, Jennifer Gann, and I, we've had a meeting already to talk about. First of all, Alfonso, thank you for that question. That's one of the first questions that came up. What does utilizing social media effectively mean? And so if I asked Harper versus if I asked Dr. Fletcher or Robbie, it may be two different things, and hers will be a much better answer than mine. But also, too, how can we, again, respect the chain of command, because we want to make sure. I would hate for a teacher, I would give a teacher any opportunity if they wanted to contact KD, absolutely, but I would, as a superintendent, I would like for them to let me know if there's an issue that I can help them with too. So it's not as saying you can't, it's just like I would hate for things to be not to come to me also. Again, it's perfectly fine as a former superintendent, but also I'd like to be informed, if there's something I can help you with. So again, how can, we want to make sure that our teachers feel comfortable even in talking with the commissioner, or talking with an associate commissioner, or talking with someone at KDE, but also too, do they realize all the different avenues where they're already communicating with us, and whether it be through letters training or other areas too. So again, how we get these surveys more targeted and also making sure we're having that communication, those are things that we're having those discussions in our leadership meetings.
And I would just echo Chair Robinson's comments about the salient piece of information about United We Learn. It looks like we've really nailed it at the superintendent level. Yay, definitely worthy of celebration. Now with the passage of 257, I think moving forward with Jen with a targeted audience around classroom teachers and really shining lights on what's happening, the pockets that we keep talking about of vibrant learning that are happening across the state is a ready access for us. And I think a real specific goal around engaging more teachers in the work of United We Learn and in the messaging around United We Learn would be a worthy pursuit. So thank you, Rob. Thank you, Karen. As we have dessert before lunch, we're going to turn our attention to the awards portion of today's agenda. And I would like to invite Division Director Ellie Gilbert and Kentucky's newest Milken Educator Award recipient, Sydney Newton, to join us for the Milken Educator Award recognition. You've probably seen Sydney all over social media in the past month, so we are happy that you are here this morning. Ellie.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Ellie Gilbert. I'm the Assistant Director in the Division of Educator Recruitment and Development, and I'm representing my division today, and we are so proud of Sydney. She is a high school teacher at Taylor County High School, and she joined the National Network of Milken Educators in 2025. A little about the Milken program, they kind of are the Oscars of teaching. It recognizes outstanding K through 12 educators for their quality of teaching, their professional leadership, their engagement with families and communities, and their potential for even greater contributions to their students, schools, and communities in the future. We had an exciting assembly at Taylor County High School in December, and Sydney was surprised in front of her students and colleagues with the Milken Educator Award, which includes a $25,000 unrestricted cash prize and the opportunity to attend an all-expenses-paid national networking forum. So the unique element of the Milken Educator Award program is that it's a surprise. Candidates are not nominated. They can't apply for it. There's nothing they can do to get it for themselves. And it's a highly guarded secret about how you get to be a Milken educator. So we're going to take a few moments today to recognize Sydney, at this time in front of her family. Her husband is with her, and that's one of the hardest things is we can't call the families and say, come to the school, Sydney's going to get a prize today. It's a complete secret. So we want to thank her once more for her outstanding work on behalf of Kentucky's children. So, Dr. Fletcher.
Absolutely. A couple of things before we come forward for some pictures. I had an opportunity. Well, first, one of my favorite pictures all year is when Sydney received the award. Miss Newton received the award. Not only the look on her face, but there's a student behind her that is absolutely, there's several behind her. One has lost her mind, and she's like, and of course, I didn't know who Miss Newton was at the time. I was looking around, I didn't know, and then whoever took the picture, phenomenal job.
Nailed it.
They absolutely nailed it. But again, afterwards, you and I walked down the hall, and I said, okay, I have to ask, were you truly surprised? And again, I hadn't seen the picture, and I didn't see her reaction, so keep that in mind. And she said, as they were going through talking about an educator, I thought, we have so many great educators here. I wonder who it is. And then, and she said, there's people going through my mind. I bet it's this person, this person. And then they started describing what seemed familiar. Then all of a sudden they named me. So again, I hadn't seen the picture yet, of course, but when she received the award, I said, okay, was it truly or did you have a clue? And she was talking about everyone else in the building that could have gotten the award, or maybe even in her view, she used to say that were well deserved of the award. So again, we do thank you so much. And before we do the award, do you want to share a few remarks?
Yes, please. First of all, thank you for having me here today. Any educator is going to tell you that speaking to a room full of adults is a completely different ballgame than talking to your kids, so bear with me. Like Commissioner Fletcher said, it was an exciting whirlwind of a day. We were actually all a little disgruntled about having to dress up the Tuesday before Christmas break. And I had even joked to a teacher friend that no one would be looking at me, so why did it even matter what I wore? Like always, I had too many mental tabs open. I was thinking about what I needed to accomplish before the end of the week and covering another class afterwards, and at one point, I actually got up to go relieve another teacher from doing bathroom supervision during the assembly. I was politely told to sit back down. During the assembly, Commissioner Fletcher shared some words about Taylor County High School, how we were knocking it out of the park in terms of CTE, SBEs, and test scores. And honestly, I was just shining with pride to be a part of our school in general. I think we have some of the best teachers and students in the state of Kentucky. And I was so pumped that they were getting recognized for their hard work. He introduced Jane Foley, a super energetic, tiny woman who started talking about this amazing opportunity for someone in the room. And like Commissioner Fletcher said, I was cataloging all of our amazing educators, ticking them off on my fingers about how amazing this opportunity would be for them. As I have been alluding, I had no idea that that person was going to be me, which you can definitely tell by the pictures and videos, like he has mentioned, from the day. I was very shocked, and I am still very flattered. Truthfully, I still have a bit of an imposter syndrome about it all, especially when I consider that my own teaching practice is just a conglomeration of the educators who have shaped me over the years. First of all, I had teachers in school, like Laura Davidson, who supported me beyond what any educator is required to do. Then I had teachers I observed throughout my college career and teachers I student taught with before becoming a teacher myself. That was Cindy Walker and Shanna Tarter. And then I had a principal who took a chance on me over several more experienced candidates, and that was amazing. And then while I have been working, I've had mentor teachers and principals throughout my career, along with colleagues that I've gotten to learn from in more subtle ways. So really, I'm just a combination of some of the amazing educators who have poured into me and students who have shaped me and my own instructional strategies over the years. It's hard to allow myself to take credit for this, but I am trying. I want to take a minute to thank my husband, Dylan. Dylan has been by my side from the moment that I started my education classes and the moment that I decided to be a teacher. He has provided years of support with an ear to listen and a shoulder to lean on. Like any job, it's not rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes it's hard conversations and tragic loss. Sometimes it's bed by 8 o'clock or staring at the wall because you are exhausted and overstimulated. They don't tell you this, but any spouse of a teacher is married to the job too, only they didn't choose it. So I cannot thank Dylan enough for pouring into me as a person and a teacher over the years, especially for reminding me that the positive impact is always worth the challenges. So what does this experience mean to me? Honestly, I may never know. It's a big secret, like was said earlier. I know being a Milken has inspired me to be the best educator I can be. It has also reminded me to have faith. Dylan and I took a chance on IVF to start a family last year, and after getting one viable embryo, we bet the house and transferred our baby girl. It is such a God thing that the monetary incentive will nearly cover what we invested, and this has shown me that God really has got us. We just have to trust. Our sweet Evelyn Harper will be here sometime in the next 8 weeks, so I will not get to go to the Milken Forum in DC this year. However, they have invited me for 2027, so I'm looking forward to that. To close, I want to thank you all for having me here today and recognize this momentous occasion in my teaching career. It's truly once-in-a-lifetime experience, and I am beyond flattered to be here today.
Congratulations again, Sydney and Dylan, and thank you so much, Ellie. We'll now turn our attention to the final item on today's agenda, the presentation of the 2026 Robinson Award for Diversity and Equity in Public Education. You've heard us talk about him before, but Dr. Samuel Robinson was the former member of the Kentucky Board of Education, 1991 to 2004, who made diversity and equity in public education his life's work. A noted educator and civil rights leader, Robinson began his career in Louisville in 1960. His diverse background in public education included everything from principal at Shawnee High School, where our own Dr. Robinson attended, now the Academy at Shawnee, to president of the Lincoln Foundation. Robinson is also well known as a community figure, as Louisville navigated the civil rights era. Each year, the Kentucky Board of Education grants this award to a Kentuckian or a Kentucky organization demonstrating extraordinary efforts and contributions in the area of educational diversity and equity. I'd like to invite Commissioner Fletcher to join me in recognizing this year's awardee.
Thank you, Dr. Young. And today, on behalf of the Kentucky Board of Education, I am honored to present the 2026 Robinson Award for Diversity and Equity in Public Education to Rhonda Logsdon, Executive Director of the Kentucky Special Parent Involvement Network, or KY-SPIN, Kentucky SPIN as we call it, in recognition of her longstanding leadership and extraordinary contributions to advancing educational equity for students with disabilities across Kentucky, particularly those from economically disadvantaged and historically underserved communities.
Rhonda, if you want to come on up to the table, he's going to say more wonderful things about you. We're so glad you're here. You bring
whoever you want to bring with you.
You bring all the company with you that
Absolutely.
you want.
And again, from her nominator, as Executive Director of Kentucky SPIN, Ms. Logsdon has dedicated more than 3 decades to empowering families, strengthening parent-school partnerships, and ensuring that students with disabilities are afforded meaningful access to public education. Her work reflects a deep commitment to civil rights, inclusion, and dignity, values that align closely with the legacy of Dr. Samuel Robinson. Under Ms. Logsdon's leadership, Kentucky SPIN has become a trusted statewide resource for families navigating special education systems. Through training, outreach, and individual support, the organization equips parents and caregivers with the knowledge and skills needed to advocate effectively for their children. This work is especially critical for families experiencing poverty, limited access to resources, or systemic barriers that contribute to inequitable educational outcomes. Ms. Logsdon's efforts have had a direct impact on improving student learning and participation by promoting inclusive practices and reducing reliance on exclusionary and harmful disciplinary responses. Through education and guidance, Kentucky SPIN helps families and schools focus on prevention, positive behavior supports, and collaborative problem-solving, approaches that reduce the likelihood of physical restraint, seclusion, and unnecessary removals from instructional settings. These efforts address practices that disproportionately affect students with disabilities and compound existing socioeconomic inequities. A hallmark of Ms. Logsdon's leadership is her emphasis on respectful dialogue and shared responsibility between families and educators. By fostering understanding of IDEA, Section 504, and related protections, she has helped shift educational culture towards collaboration, strengthening trust between families and schools, and supporting better academic and functional outcomes for students. Beyond individual advocacy, Ms. Logsdon's work has contributed to broader systems of change by elevating the voice of families in statewide conversations about special education, behavior supports, and equity. Her influence has helped ensure that disability is recognized as a central component of diversity and equity in public education. Rhonda Logsdon's sustained commitment to students with disabilities, her leadership in empowering families, and her impact on equitable educational practices across Kentucky exemplify the purpose of the Samuel Robinson Award. Please join me in congratulating Rhonda Logsdon, Executive Director of the Kentucky Special Parent Involvement Network, Kentucky SPIN, for being named the recipient of the 2026 Robinson Award for Diversity and Equity in Public Education. we do the award with pictures, would you like to have some remarks, please?
Well, you know I always have something to say. I'm grateful to each of you because I come to the table as a sister. And first and foremost, whether it's seen disability or unseen. Sorry, I'm a mess here. I want every one of us to have a chance and not to be discounted because we have a disability. And it takes every one of us working together, and there's not enough of us. One of the things I dream of is when we talk and the work we do about students with disabilities, we consider them our children, not those children. And to my dying day, we don't have an option as a family. We live this 24/7, 7 days a week. It's not an option to not continue to do this. And I don't want you to have to live it to get it, but please play a role in helping us to make things better, because our students with disabilities, they are so talented and so amazing. None of this would be possible. You know, I'm not smart enough to do a whole lot. I'm just going to tell you. But I'm smart enough to surround myself with the people that are good people. And our team at Kentucky Spin is the most dedicated, empowering, and talented people possible. And this would not be possible without Dr. Greta Hilton and the whole OSIL team, because it takes more than one of us to make a partnership. And even when we disagree, that's not a bad thing. That tells me everybody's voice is being heard. And I want us to continue to work together. And I just thank y'all so much, because I can't believe that was about me.
It was.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Goodness, what a treat. Thanks, a special thanks to Julie Pyle for chairing the awards committee, for Alfonso for joining us on that. It is truly joyful work, and these recognitions today are representative of the kind of great work happening in support of all public education students across the Commonwealth. Thanks, everyone, for a very productive meeting. This was a lighter agenda over the last 2 days, but get ready for June. We will FaceTime Lee at that meeting to make sure he knows that we're still working hard at it. At this time, I'm open for a motion to adjourn.
Before I make that motion, I'd
Yes.
just like to say one quick thing
Please.
about Dr. Todd. It's been an honor.
Yeah, please.
It's been an honor to serve with him on this board. He's one of the first people that welcomed me on the board when I started, and we know how highly intelligent he is and all the successful endeavors that he's done over the years, but he's got that human side to him also, and he's helped thousands and thousands of kids when he was president of UK to be successful. One of them was my son. He took under his wing, helped him, and I know that he cared about all the students. He wasn't just a figurehead. He actually loved the kids and wanted them to do well, and I appreciate them. I'll never forget that.
Excellent.
Yeah, I'd like to
Thank you
say
so much.
three of my children and two of my son-in-law all have their diploma signed by Dr. Todd at UK also. So I'm a little bit older than you, Robbie. My kids were there when you guys. But thank you for the service that you really, not only on this board, but to me, we were thinking about going elsewhere, but when you became the president of UK and elevated that to a top research community, you just established the fact that they didn't need to go out of this state to get the quality education they needed. So thank you for what you did there.
Thank you, Dr. Pate.
I think Wethington signed mine. If I bring that in, would you just, like, maybe above it?
Cross over there.
Excellent.
I would like to say, so Dr. Todd was the first person who I met coming to the board. We were walking into the retreat down at the park. And to be honest, I didn't know who Dr. Todd was and his background. And so he was just a kind human being, and just, we hit it right off because my son was at GSE and we were talking about entrepreneurship and things. And then when I learned who Dr. Todd was, and I have two kids who one just graduated from UK, and one is currently there. And I love sharing with him how vibrant their learning experiences have been and how welcoming the school is, and they're just excelling, that I wanted him to know that his legacy is carrying on, and I'm just thrilled.
Excellent, thank you. I'm so glad we took a moment just to share. I will miss the stories most of all. Just sitting there and basking in those stories, which I always marvel at the extent of your reach and your kind service to public education. So thank you. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
That being said, I make that motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Second, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Pate. All those in favor, please respond by aye, and then give Lee a hug. I think we got ayes.
Aye.
Thank you.